All right, so yes, we are here today with my good friend Christine Lee, who is our guest today, our distinguished guest today. Christine, how are you doing?
I'm good, Chasely. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing all right. Thanks for being on, and yeah, let's get into this very interesting discussion that we have planned out. So, first of all, first question or set of questions: what is your name? What are your pronouns? What is your ethnicity? And who are you?
Who am I? What an existential question.
Yes.
My name is Christine. My pronouns right now are she, they. Although I have been pretty fluid in and out in terms of pronouns. I'm Chinese American, so I was born here, but my parents are from China. And who am I? I am a lot of things, but so are many humans. Um, I am trying to do the whole actor thing in New York. I teach fitness, I walk dogs, I'm a gay. I am I like to sing. I'm an artist flailing in the world of capitalism.
Mm, yes. A true Renaissance person.
True, yes.
Yes, in this world of capitalism. Excellent. Yes. And what is your background in, and what sort of inspired you to go into acting eventually?
I mean, my background is kind of very mishmash, and I feel like many artists and many actors tend to have like mishmashy backgrounds. I studied visual arts actually in high school, and I thought I wanted to be an illustrator. And then I got into FIT, and I was like, I actually don't want to do this. So then I just majored. I just like took a whole bunch of classes in college. Ended up majoring in women's studies, but also took a lot of theater classes. And so I was like, oh, I kind of want to do acting. Um, but I also had a background in martial arts, so I feel like I'm very artistically movement minded. Um, what else? Um, yeah, I mean, what inspired me to go into acting? I honestly did not think anything of acting at all until I was in college. Um, I took my first acting 101 class, and it was kind of like I didn't realize how intimate and personal acting was. I literally thought it was just like lying or pretending or like training yourself in a very conscious way to appear a certain way. I didn't know it was like you reach into like who you are as a human to share it artistically. So when I figured that out, I was like, oh, I kind of want to do this acting thing. And I feel like when you're young and when you like those kind of things, like acting and art, you tend to be like all in or nothing. So I was like very like, oh, I want to be an actor. I want to devote my life as an actor. And it wasn't until very recently I am kind of moving away from that mindset.
Hmm. How so?
Well, I feel like in the acting grindy culture as well, it's also very 100 or nothing. I mean, I've been in circles and I've had teachers that were like, if you're not willing to go into debt for acting, then what are you doing?
Oh,
Like that kind of mindset.
wow.
Yeah. And obviously, this person owned an acting school. Um, and you and I went to an acting school as well. And kind of like the narrative that was kind of told to us too was that you have to put your 100 in the classes as well as your work. Meanwhile, most of us were only doing acting for the first time. um but now, I'm starting a dog walking business. I'm starting to date again, which hasn't been a thing in a long time. I'm like traveling for fun, and making money is also like a thing that like adds value to your life. So I'm finding all these other different outlets of joy that I thought acting was supposed to give me, but really like I'm finding fulfillment in all these other outlets. And so when I started doing that, I was actually starting to worry like maybe I'm not cut out for acting. Maybe I'm not, maybe I did all this for nothing. That was kind of like my mindset going into it. Um, but now, like, I'm trying to find the reality of like being an actor as well as a human, which is, I feel like, doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. One, because like that's not a narrative that's encouraged for the actor who doesn't have famous parents, who doesn't have really rich parents. Um, so yeah, I mean that's where I am right now. And also like as the acting grind or whatever, there's not much you can do. Like if you're not getting auditions, you can make your own content, but then like what else are you supposed to do? You know, take classes and stuff like that. You know, it's not like singing, it's not like martial arts where you have a routine and you have to go through these exercises. It's a lot more abstract than that.
Yeah. I I love what you're saying about that. And it kind of brings up conversations that I've had with some of my best, I guess, mentors and teachers that have always said, like, some of the best things you can do for your acting is just go out and be a human being and
Absolutely.
have a life and have experiences because it fills you. I mean, as actors, we're hopefully supposed to be playing real human beings that are full of emotions and impulses and traumatic experiences and wonderful experiences. And filling yourself up with as many of those as possible is has been told to me that it's been very important and something that I have lived through getting into acting later, a little bit later in life. Yeah, I definitely that definitely resonates with me. Just like you get you get better as you just live and as you just become a better human being.
Oh
So
yeah.
that is great to know that we're on the same wavelength in terms of that. Because yeah, we do. It's really easy to get caught up in the am I successful headspace and conversations, internal conversations, and that can be. I think that can really stifle a lot of creativity and just make you really nervous and make you act worse
Yeah.
when you do get the shot. So yeah, nice. Thank you for saying that. I
Yeah,
definitely
of
appreciate that.
course.
Yeah. What do you think, just along those lines, what do you think um, sort of personally drew you to the art form in the first place? Is there just something about your personality that made it sort of click for you, or was it sort of an escape for you, or what sort of drew you in to start out with?
I've always been really fascinated with humanity and people, and I still am, and I still bring that fascination to the other things I have, whether it be my personal life, whether it be dog walking, whether it be fitness. Like it's never not a thing that I'm thinking about. Um, and so acting, like, is pretty much using that psychology in a very intuitive and not analytical way that really drew me to it. Um, And I feel like a lot of people that I've met kind of who gravitate towards acting really enjoy the aspect of which they get to be their truest selves and then get applauded for it. And I think a
Mm,
lot of us were maybe like bullied or rejects when we were younger, where we weren't
hmm.
allowed to do that. And so acting is like are you a not only are you more successful or you are a better actor when you get to show the parts of you that are so rejected from society, but you
Yeah.
strive to do that. Like that is like the goal to continuously be. And it's like a really kind of it's a very complicated battle too, because when you don't do it, you're a bad actor, and oh my god, nobody wants to be a bad actor. Um, so that was one of the ways. I also just enjoy like having a presence and being like center focus in that kind of way. Not to say that like I need to be like the center of attention in a crowded room all the time, but there's something very magical and kind of like alive, makes me feel alive when people are like give you that kind of laser focus just for being concentrated, being in the moment, which is a really nice feeling for me, whether it be in film or whether it be in theater, because I think they're very similar. Just the scope is a little different. Um, but yeah, and also, you know, I've always been a very artistic person who needed to put their experiences in some sort of tangible and pretty beautiful way, whether it be on paper or whether it be in like a scene. Um, and yeah, I think those are some of the things.
Nice. As you probably have, well, as we've kind of talked about, like I've been very into my mental health journey lately and looking at like attachment wounds and stuff and doing a lot of internal work. I've become one of those insufferable therapy people. Again, again, going back to that. But yeah, it's interesting. I've thought a lot about lately, sort of like you talked about the feeling of sort of being applauded in front of an audience and how that really kind of, I guess, satisfied or like heals some of my core wounds around sort of not being seen by my parents and my family for my unique self in the way that I had always wanted to and craved as a child, and feeling that like as an adult in front of an audience is something that I think that for me makes that for me kind of connects. And I thought about that the other day and I was like, fuck, like, does that mean that I'm just doing this just because I'm a traumatized child? And once I like can heal this part of myself, hopefully, then I won't need acting anymore. Like I
And
was
you
like,
know
oh
what?
no.
I'm like kind of going through that right now in like distancing myself from the acting because
Mm,
it's a losing battle when you actually try to get work. Like
yeah.
the auditions I get are commercials, and then when I get a really juicy part, it's really devastating to me when I don't get it.
Mm,
Um, and so right now I'm like trying to find I am finding fulfillment in all these other little smaller outlets, and so I'm kind of like in that phase where I'm like, do I even need acting? But at the
yeah.
same time, I've built so much. Like, I feel like everything you ever do in life ends up like bringing you to where you're ultimately supposed to be or where you're going to be. And, you know, I feel like you can never know where you're going to end up, whether it be acting or not. Like, yeah, it's appropriate for you to do right now because it does help you heal, but maybe it won't help you heal in the future. Maybe it like has given you all it can give, but then now that brings you to now you are in a certain position from all the experiences and all the skills you were able to get, and now you're able to use that to fulfill yourself in different ways.
Yes. And it 100% has, there are skills that you learn as an actor that are completely useful and marketable, not only in, your personal life, but also in other jobs and other occupations. I think, yeah, sometimes we forget that, um, yeah, actors do things and actor training really kind of makes you just a more confident, deeper thinking, analytical person, more and a more embodied person. And that always
Yeah.
is helpful. And I think also the thing that I keep going back to is just like making art is never a bad thing unless you're making, really bad like
Well,
propaganda.
dangerous,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. But like the art that we're doing, it's never a bad thing. And hopefully we're contributing to, I don't know, just making society better on some level. Cause I
Yeah,
know I do believe, yeah, go ahead.
and it doesn't have to be tangible like, oh, I wrote this play and we're putting it on a black box theater and
Mm,
three of my friends are going. Like that it doesn't have to be like that. You said having being skilled as an actor is not only good for your personal life, but it's also like gives you marketable skills. And it's so funny because my line of thinking is like the opposite. It's
mm,
not only does having skills as an actor give you marketable skills, but it also adds to your personal life.
yeah.
Because that's like, yeah, it's given, but I'm realizing me as an actor has allowed me to, especially like starting to date again, starting to open my mind to like, different types of relationships. It is so incredibly relevant in how you form relationships. It gives you the nuance to become appreciative and grateful for like really small things, and which I find very like that is the bread and butter for life for me is relationships, and that doesn't have to do with necessarily making money, um, and that's invaluable, and some people are incapable of doing that.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I think all, yeah, that I'm stuck between like two like thoughts. But I also don't think it's like, I think it's a worthwhile journey that we're on to like try to like be commercially successful and whatnot. I
oh yeah,
think the
that is the given.
yeah.
Like that's like if you ask any neurotic actor, that is like they might not admit it, but every actor is thirsty for like
Hmm.
for that gig, for to be on TV, to be, and
Hmm.
I think most of the time, at least a little bit, is about that kind of clout. I think that's just like undeniable. And it's like it's such a cultural thing to be on TV. Like that is like, oh my god, you're on TV. Like I don't know. I work at this gym, and I've had like maybe two things on TV, and my manager was like, "Oh my god, I saw you on TV," and I'm just like, I don't know. They just like were reacting as if like I was like with such. It was like over. What's the word? Like that reaction was not like this is the reality, and this was the reaction I was getting.
Right.
Like I feel like
Yeah.
people think like once you go on TV, it's like you get like $1 million. It's
Yeah.
like no,
Yeah.
sometimes you get $0. Like
Yeah.
like I'm still walking dogs. I still I still am like trying to make ends meet, and like a lot of celebrities, not celebrities, but people with like huge parts are coming out and saying like things have been rough for them because they haven't been booking since that one big gig. And so like I think a lot of people are so um misinformed about that.
Yeah. It's important to remember that as you walk in Times Square and you see all these people on the really glamorous like billboards and stuff and flashing things, that they're still human beings and they still might be in debt. They still might live in their one bedroom apartment. Like,
They might have drug addictions, they might be
yeah,
suffering from like mental health issues, they might have like, that you like, yeah, there is obviously privilege to having money and power and stuff like that, but I don't know, it's just so two dimensionalized like
yeah,
this. And I think that's why Hollywood is so fucking toxic, because not only do people see them as like a two-dimensional like cool figure, they also start to see themselves as that as well. Which is so anti what acting is.
and it's a strange journey to be on, to kind of want to do both, to really like dream about the and crave the commercial success and perhaps like the clout and the status and notoriety, but also wanting to just be a better person and make art that is like meaningful to you and hopefully good for the world, because a lot of the art that is created mainstream is not great for the world. And I think we're both pretty we definitely agree on that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of there with you that I'm like, let's just try this and just see what happens, and hopefully it will have some good results in the end. And maybe I don't know. I mean, my ultimate dream is like be able to have the kind of um I guess agency to create my own work and really work with like the people that I want to and who have like similar, not just similar backgrounds, but similar just like worldviews as I. That is really a dream. Be able to do that and to like have make a living off of that would be just incredible. So
Yep,
hopefully there is a way that we can like merge the two things.
that is the
I don't
goal.
know. Yes. What do you feel about that? How does that
Oh
land
yeah,
with
I mean the first name that comes to my head is Ryan Murphy. Like he's a fucking like kid. He's the guy who made American Horror Story.
you? Okay.
He did the series that's coming out, Dahmer.
Mm.
He's just like one of the fucking like kings. Like he has a throne in Hollywood. But like he's a gay man who mainly uses like women over 40 as his protagonist, and like
Ah,
he
yes.
he, he talked like he just did so the story, the Hulu series Dahmer, I don't know if it's out, but it's coming out. Basically, his spin on it is that you see the woman who is the neighbor of Dahmer, and she's like she knows like something weird is going on, but the cops keep ignoring her. But she's just like, I know something weird is going on. I know something weird is going on. And so the story highlights the social injustice rather than the, oh, like Dahmer's so fucking sick, right? Well, he is sick because it's like also it's like a horror series. He's like known for his horror, but like the horror of it also is like the social injustice that is very real. And so he takes a very kind of like he takes a really aware spin on it because he can, because he's one of the kingpins of Hollywood. And so like um that's that that's like amazing.
Yeah. And there's people who get to achieve that, and there's people who aren't so lucky to do that. But yeah, I think it's a good it's a good goal to keep in mind too. Um, yeah, as we struggle to get roles in this very bleak, sometimes
It's very
very
bleak, and
toxic
like
industry.
it's a very, I think I underestimate how much of a hard battle. I don't want to say losing battle, but it is a very hard battle for like this whole thing. And like all, I feel like most actors are so bent on like this has to work, this has to work, this has to work. And I definitely has have had that mindset too. But I don't know, it just has made it made me so like anxious and more depressed than usual. And I don't know, I think personally I'm kind of reworking like priorities, like what is art to me, and you know, how can I still be artful, like am I still an artist even though if I'm not getting work, like
Mm,
I think
yeah.
part of it too is like when you're not getting work, you're not being validated by cash money currency. You're not an artist, right? But like I very much disagree with that. Like I feel like your art lies in how you hold someone, and that
Mm.
sounds so like cheesy, but like the art is how you speak. The art is what you do when someone is in need. Like that to me is like the most artful thing. Like, oh my god, when I was like 15 or something, I was at the Met, and we were like just like in like this room of paintings, and obviously like European Renaissance whatever paintings, and like one of those the people who like stand by in like suits, and they like basically are just there to
Hmm.
guard the paintings or whatever. And they're usually like older people of color, I feel like.
Mm.
And this was like kind of right after not Sandy Hook, Hurricane Sandy happened, and I just started talking to one of them, and I don't even remember, but she was telling me about like how her um, house kind of just got destroyed from Sandy, and meanwhile she's like being surrounded by all these paintings, and like I feel like she was more of art. Like that experience, that story she was telling me was more touching than any of these paintings around me. So like I don't know it. I think everyone is artistic to some point, but what we brand and validate as art is very backwards.
I think a past version of me would have definitely agreed with the statement, "Oh, you're only an artist if you're getting paid to create art."
Yeah.
Probably, even like 3 years ago, that's probably what I would have said. And I think I don't want to disqualify myself like so early on by being like, "Oh, it does, it whatever. I don't care about getting work, whatever." I don't want to um yeah, sort of like put limiting beliefs on like what our careers could be. But yeah, like I want to hold on to the idea that this my entire life, if I'm doing art, if I'm doing community theater, if I'm doing readings, if I'm connecting with other people in like spaces like this, like I'm still going to be an artist, and what I still will contribute will be valuable. I don't think
Yeah.
that any of the ancient philosophers who were, ancient Greek philosophers who were, who were talking about like what is the nature of art ever said, "Oh, you're only an artist
Right,
if you get this
exactly.
amount, if you make money off of it." I don't think they would have agreed with that statement. So,
Yeah.
but it's easy to lose sight of that. It's very easy to lose sight of it. So yeah, I appreciate what you're saying right now. With that in mind, what are some of the early obstacles, whether in terms of like you commercially getting into acting or just personally, obstacles and challenges that you've faced so far in your career?
I mean, I feel like the whole thing is an obstacle, right? Like, um, one, no one really tells you how to get started. Like, everyone pretty much has to flail and be like, what the fuck is happening until something happens, and then and then you like understand the nuances and the etiquettes and the people and like all these like ins and outs of like the business or whatever. Even I feel still like not like green, and I still have to ask people like what I should do and what this means and whatever. um but I don't know, like I feel like I haven't really started a professional career until recently. um but a lot of like the craft and starting with it was very much tied to my self-worth, and it was like very up and down, and that's the nature of acting because it's like it's very inconsistent. Like human emotions and the human condition is very inconsistent, and so when you make that into a tangible thing and like a result oriented thing, I feel like my sense of worth was going, especially during acting class too. It's just very like, you did good, you did bad, you did good, you did bad. What is
Mhm.
good, what is bad, running like you're still the same person that did bad that you did when you were good, right? And so it was always like whatever just happened was like how I saw myself. um and so while acting was helping me become a more authentic version of me and a more compassionate version of me, I was also tethering myself to like um how successful I was, which is kind of backwards. So I'm sure like I still struggled to. I don't think that will ever go away. If you're on set, if you're on stage, and like you fail to deliver and it's made known to you, that's like a very, very humiliating experience. Um, so that, and also like now, like I'm dipping my toes into like the professional side of things. It's very like the rejections, the no end in sight kind of mentality, because that's another thing. Like actors are very not like I told somebody that like being an actor, like in our state, in our phase of our journey, is like not a dignified thing to do. Like it's like it's very undignified. Like
Yeah.
you spend a lot of time giving these self tapes. No one ever gives you any feedback. It goes into the void, and you don't get paid for them. And then when you do, you have to clear out some spots. Like this just happened to me. They were like, okay, we need Christine for this thing. Tell her to clear out 3 days of her thing. I'm like, okay, great. And they're like, oh wait, never mind, we don't need her. So it's like the up and downs and up and downs. And I was like, do I still clear out the days? And my agent told me yes. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not getting dang shit out of it, but I still have to do it if I still want to be in the game. And so it's like a lot of sacrifices and a lot of like overextending yourself just because there's so much saturation in the industry, I guess. And so many people are willing to do it. If you're not willing to do it, like 20 other people are willing to do it.
Yeah.
So like that's something I kind of have a hard time reckoning with. Um, and just like I said, no end in sight. You send all these things, you do all these things, and it just like goes down the drain. And then you're just like, why? I don't see the fruits of my labor. It's really hard to see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
Like you don't see the casting agent like watch your video and be like, oh cool, let me like note her down. Like even that small thing would be incredibly encouraging, but you never hear anything. Or if they're like, I wish they wore something else, like that would still be somehow validating. But the thing is, like, you're doing all these things with the hope, the vague faith that something might like do, and it's really hard to hold on to that faith because at like ultimately it's kind of a delusion that you have to hold on to because there's no way of like completely knowing how far you are in the game, you know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a big obstacle, I would say, or a difficulty.
That is a very big obstacle. I think that's that's a great statement that you said, that like being an actor sort of also in general is not a dignified thing, especially like
Not.
early on. Like the
Yeah,
capitalism of it all is really just kind of gross because at
absolutely.
this stage they'll tell you, oh, it's a pipe dream, like get a real job, blah 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 blah. Nobody will take you seriously. As soon as you start getting any sort of notoriety, if you're on Broadway, all of a sudden you're the shit to everyone and everyone wants to be around you. um yeah, that's very that's very true.
Like after you go,
uh,
your show runs on Broadway and then you don't book anything for 2 years, and then what? Like,
yeah, and then you're back to the same
you're
place.
exactly back. Like people are gonna forget that you were on Broadway. Like you're
Yeah.
back to where you started. So it's not an accumulative or a tangibly cumulative thing to embark on, which is
Yeah,
something I have a hard time with.
it has to be one of the least like linear career paths that I can really
Mhm.
imagine. And I
Right.
think even at the highest levels, like,
Yeah.
there's I always bring up Tobey Maguire for some reason because he was fucking Spider-Man and then wasn't cast in Hollywood for like a decade,
Right.
like
Right. Right. Right.
it's you're never, unless you're there's like 3 or 4 actors, the fucking Leonardo DiCaprio's, Daniel Day-Lewis's, who will always have work when they want it. Everybody else is on a giant wave,
Yeah.
quite literally. And that's just kind of the reality of that's kind of the nature of the beast, unfortunately. Um, yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's just Tobey Maguire. Why is it always him? I don't
I
know.
mean, you see like Kathy Bates, like she's like
Right.
she's like such a fucking classic great actor.
Hmm.
And I just saw her on like this weird Netflix sitcom that's like awful. And
Yeah.
I'm like, why is she like you see all these like iconic actors and I feel like it's mostly women, but like iconic
Mm.
actresses that just like end up being in terrible things.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how did what? Like you see them in Misery and now they're in a sitcom with like horrible like writing. It's
Yeah.
just so weird. Like
Yeah.
um yeah, so at the end of the day, it's it's such a it's such a money system,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
It's a service. It's not notoriety does not equal like employability.
Mm. Yeah. That facts. What are you most proud of so far,
Like in the career or just like in general.
as it pertains to you as an actor?
What was the question again?
What are you
What
most
am I
proud
most
of?
proud of?
Hmm.
Oh God, I don't know. Um, I think I'm the most proud of just being able to get through all of like kind of the mental health things that go with acting. And like I look back and I just like think of how anxious and depressed I was for different reasons, and now I have like such a different perspective and a clarity on those kind of things. I'm really proud of my compassion and ability to connect to people as it pertains to acting and also as it pertains outside of acting. Um, I'm really proud of, I think that's the biggest thing, like the compassion and the people smartness I'm able to glean from all these years of acting. Um, so I would say that's the proudest thing. I don't want to say like certain gigs I ever did because that just like kind of goes against like everything I just said in the past hour. And I am proud of like certain things, but I'm not like I'm very careful to let that to get attached to those kind of things because they're one day like they're here and then they're not here, you know.
Hmm. Hmm. What are your greatest fears or kind of worries as you continue forward in this life, in this acting life?
Right. I mean, first and foremost, like stability, like financial stability. Um, and like I am getting it from like other ways, but like I will never have like a cubicle office job that will give me like certain benefits that, you know, someone else might get. So that kind of concerns me. Um, I think that's the biggest one. Fears and concerns. Um, I would say another concern is just putting my all into something in a way that it it doesn't pay back at all, which kind of has been proved to be wrong anyway because it doesn't have to, like we said, it doesn't have to be monetary. Like just having this experience is an experience that has to happen. Um, but like in terms of just like logistical stuff, I would say like financial stability, of course, and um, you know, like having like a retire like a 401k, like those kind of just those kind of like things, you know. So I would say that's the biggest concern.
Yeah. What keeps you moving forward? What keeps you hungry for growth and achievement and
Honestly,
success?
lately it's been not thinking about it a lot.
Mm.
You know, like I'm putting my mind in different things and that helps me not obsess about it. And so when I do get like if I didn't have all these things, I'd be like, why don't I have an audition? I only had an X auditions for this amount of weeks. Like I would be so crazy. I would drive myself crazy. But since I have all these other distracting things, when I do get an audition, it's like, okay, cool. Or when I do get a call back, I'm like, oh my God, amazing. So um not obsessing over it, I feel like is a huge key into it.
Mm. And so what are some of the things right now? You mentioned them very early on, but what are some of the things that you're doing right now that are kind of filling you up with the joy and the life, and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, but like teaching fitness and starting my own dog walking business, I mean, it's not giving me joy all the time because it's hard work. Um, and starting to date again is giving me a lot of fulfillment. Spending time with my friends has given me a lot of fulfillment and making memories. That's like a new thing that I'm kind of like attaching myself to. Like a lot of I put a lot of purpose into making memories with people that have nothing to do with like careers or whatnot. So that's kind of a thing. Um, yeah. So I would say that's kind of giving me fulfillment and building other things rather than my acting career.
Hmm. Here's a curveball for you. Um,
Uh,
if you're ready for it. What is some of the best advice you've gotten? Some of the best acting advice you've gotten, whether from a mentor or a fellow actor or teacher, etc.
like in terms of like anything or in terms of like the craft.
Could be both, like in terms of like the journey as an actor or the craft itself. Take your
Um,
time with that.
I mean, I already talked about it, but Carl, who
Okay.
is like one of our teachers that we had for first semester, said like it's important to be a human first, then an actor. And
Mm,
when he told me that, I was like, yeah, whatever, bye. Like, but like now I think that works a lot for me. And then I had another teacher who was like, get hobbies. You need to get hobbies as an
yeah.
actor. And I'm like, what? What? Fuck? Like you're so like you're not all in. You're gonna do hobbies,
Yeah.
but that's good for your mental health too. Um, I would say those are the most relevant ones right now. But what else? What else? I'm sure there's more. Um,
That is good advice though, and very simple
yeah,
and
like
applicable.
you're more things than an actor.
Yeah. And for me, I think that hopefully like the optimistic part of me is saying that that will lead to the longevity, right? Because
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
as important it is to kind of like go all in and believe in yourself and do all the things that you need to do to um you know prepare and get jobs and continue to study and improve. Like I think obviously like having income streams that you can rely on like long term, and just other things in your life that you enjoy that fill you up, like that's not going to be it's if you don't have any of that, it's not going to be sustainable long term. Like you're going to burn out within a year, a couple
Absolutely.
years, and you see that
Absolutely.
happening quite a bit.
Yes.
um I think I'm not sure if you went to our last one of our last classes. Cameron Mabin, who is the
Oh, I didn't go to that one.
yeah, one of the actors from Law and Order, she was talking about like her journey, and she was like, an NYU MFA grad, et cetera, et cetera. And she said that she didn't become a working actor until she was like 35. So like a full
Nice.
decade after she graduates. Yeah, like a full decade after she graduates from NYU. And she was like a interpreter doing
Oh
sign language. Yeah,
wow.
and did that forever.
Awesome.
So yeah, and I was like, that really
The
makes sense.
MFA for NYU,
Hmm.
that is like I heard I could be wrong, but they accept like 10 people a year.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it's like crazy.
yeah, absolutely. And she's always had like been well connected and has friends in the highest places.
That is
Um,
wild.
yeah, and she is a plus size actor, so she's talked a lot about like her journey in being a plus size actor and being sort of like very I guess disenfranchised in the industry. But yeah, I think that was really nice for me to hear, just like the permission to of somebody to be like, yes, you can all
Take
these
as much
voices are,
time as you want.
yeah, and like have another life, have a life that will sustain you, and that could eventually give you a better chance at actually being a successful actor, because
Yeah.
you'll have a life
Right.
that you can fall back on, essentially.
Right. Like
Yeah.
not all of like if Hollywood could only hire actors that had rich parents or like had like complete financial um like um resources, they wouldn't have many actors. Like a good
Mm,
amount of people who have careers right now don't come from that,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Although they might have like the people with a lot of money might have like a huge leg up, but they certainly don't give the diversity and the different choices
yeah,
that different projects need.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, definitely agree. Um, and yeah, so there we are. There we are at this wonderful point in our we're not at the same point in our careers. You've actually worked. I'm still I have I've up until this point been a full-time student, you could say, for many years. But yeah, it's a strange and scary place to be. But the thought that I keep going back to is like, what am I gonna regret about my life when I'm 65?
Absolutely.
Um, not to say that 65 is like you're done, but
Right.
in 30 years, what am I gonna sort of look back on and feel good about? And I think this moment right now, really saying like I gave it a good shot for a long time. I'm gonna feel great about that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I am. And yeah, we'll continue to move forward and
It's very give life an uppercut and like make it your bitch because there's no other way.
yeah, we'll do that. And
Yes.
we'll have our mental health crises and things along the way, but that'll only make us better actors
And
and better humans
funnier.
and funnier. Yes. And I have no idea why I'm talking like this right now, but that's it's been, it's just it's a Tuesday. So what are you gonna do?
This
You
was
know?
such a fun podcast, little interview.
Yes, thank you.
I
No,
feel like
thank you.
we delved into so many cool topics.
We did, and I was happy that we you answered all the questions that I had laid out, but we also talked about a lot of different things. So yeah, thank you for that. That was some grade A content.
I can't wait to listen to this. I can't wait
Yeah,
to listen to everything that I just was here for.
yeah, you dropped some knowledge bombs for sure. So I think this is gonna be wonderful. And probably I would say like 2 or 3 weeks I'll do the episode because I got a bunch of other stuff to do and I'm moving very slowly right now, as you know. But I'll send it to you when I do. But before I let you go, what are your social media contacts and how do we get in touch with you?
Cool. You can reach me through Instagram at Christine Hillary Lee.